Chapter 1. The New Neighbors. The neighborhood of Maplewood was known for its idyllic streets lined with quaint houses and friendly neighbors. But when the Forrester family moved into the house next door to the Wilsons, the peaceful atmosphere of Maplewood was shattered. Lucas Wilson stood at the window of his living room, watching with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension as the moving van pulled up in front of the house next door. He had heard rumors about the new neighbors, strange whispers that spoke of dark rituals and mysterious disappearances. But Lucas dismissed them as nothing more than idle gossip, preferring to give his new neighbors the benefit of the doubt. As he watched the movers unload the Forrester family's belongings, Lucas couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled over him like a shroud. There was something about the way they moved, quick and furtive, as if they were hiding something. With a sigh, Lucas turned away from the window and returned to the comfort of his living room, hoping that his concerns were nothing more than paranoia. But as the days turned into weeks, Lucas couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Strange noises would echo through the walls at all hours of the night, the sound of chanting and rhythmic drumming that sent shivers down his spine. And then there were the disappearances. One by one, the residents of Maplewood began to vanish without a trace, leaving behind nothing but empty houses and unanswered questions. Lucas watched in horror as his once vibrant neighborhood descended into chaos, its streets deserted and its houses silent. Desperate for answers, Lucas knew that he had to confront the Forrester family and uncover the truth behind their sinister presence. But little did he know that his quest for answers would lead him down a path of darkness and despair, from which there would be no escape. Chapter 2. The Invitation. Lucas stood on the doorstep of the Forrester house, his heart pounding in his chest as he raised his hand to knock. He had spent weeks gathering evidence and piecing together the puzzle of his neighbors' dark secrets, and now he was finally ready to confront them face to face. But as he waited for someone to answer the door, a sense of dread settled over him like a heavy weight. What if the rumors were true? What if the Forrester family was involved in something far more sinister than he could have ever imagined? Before he could second-guess himself, the door swung open, revealing Mrs. Forrester standing on the other side. She greeted him with a warm smile, her eyes twinkling with an otherworldly light. "Lucas, what a pleasant surprise," she said, her voice smooth as silk. "To what do we owe the pleasure of your visit?" Lucas hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to broach the subject of his suspicions. But then he remembered the disappearances, the families torn apart by forces beyond their control, and his resolve hardened. "I know what you're doing, Mrs. Forrester," he said, his voice steady despite the fear that gnawed at his insides. "I know about the disappearances and the strange noises coming from your house at night. You can't hide from me any longer." Mrs. Forrester's smile never wavered as she listened to Lucas's accusations, her eyes glittering with amusement. "My dear boy, you have no idea what you're talking about," she replied, her voice dripping with honeyed sweetness. "But why don't you come inside and see for yourself? Perhaps then you'll understand." With a sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach, Lucas followed Mrs. Forrester into the depths of the house, knowing that he was walking into a trap from which there would be no escape. Chapter 3. The Ritual. As Lucas stepped into the Forrester house, he was greeted by a scene straight out of his worst nightmares. The walls were adorned with strange symbols and glyphs, their meanings lost to time. The air was thick with the smell of incense and decay, sending a shiver down Lucas's spine. Mrs. Forrester led him into the living room, where a group of hooded figures stood in a circle, their faces obscured by shadows. In the center of the room lay a sacrificial altar, its surface stained with blood. Lucas's heart raced as he realized the true nature of the Forrester family's dark rituals. They were summoning forces beyond their control, forces that threatened to consume them and everyone around them. Before he could react, Mrs. Forrester handed him a ceremonial robe and urged him to join the circle. "You're one of us now, Lucas," she whispered, her voice low and seductive. "Embrace the darkness, and you will be rewarded." But Lucas knew that he could never become a part of their twisted cult. With a surge of adrenaline, he tore off the robe and made a run for the door, desperate to escape the horrors that lurked within the Forrester house. As he fled into the night, Lucas knew that he had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death. But the memories of what he had witnessed would haunt him for the rest of his days, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the walls of his once peaceful neighborhood. In the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, nestled among the dense foliage and winding trails, lay the forgotten town of Whispering Pines. Once a thriving community, it had long since been abandoned, its buildings left to decay and crumble beneath the weight of time. But within the shadows of those dilapidated structures, a darkness lingered, waiting to be awakened. Chapter 1. The Arrival. The winding road snaked its way through the dense forest, the trees casting long shadows that danced in the fading light of dusk. Behind the wheel of an old pickup truck, Emma Reynolds gripped the steering wheel tightly, her knuckles turning white with tension. Beside her, her younger brother Alex stared out the window with wide-eyed wonder, his excitement palpable. "Are we almost there, Em?" he asked, his voice tinged with anticipation. Emma glanced at the GPS mounted on the dashboard, frowning as she tried to make sense of the jumble of directions. "According to this thing, we should be getting close," she replied, her brow furrowed in concentration. As they rounded a bend in the road, the dense forest gave way to a clearing, revealing the crumbling remnants of Whispering Pines. Alex gasped in awe as he took in the sight of the abandoned town, his eyes shining with excitement. "It's even creepier than I imagined," he exclaimed, his voice echoing in the silence. Emma shot him a warning glance, her expression grave. "Remember why we're here, Alex. This place isn't just some tourist attraction. It's dangerous." But Alex was already scrambling out of the truck, his eagerness getting the better of him. Ignoring his sister's warnings, he bounded towards the nearest building, disappearing into the shadows without a second glance. With a sigh, Emma followed close behind, her senses on high alert. She knew that they were treading on thin ice, and the last thing she wanted was for her reckless brother to get himself into trouble. As they explored the abandoned town, Emma couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled over her like a shroud. The buildings loomed overhead like silent sentinels, their broken windows and crumbling facades a testament to the town's tragic past. Suddenly, Alex's voice pierced the silence, breaking Emma's reverie. "Em, you've got to see this!" With a sense of dread gnawing in her stomach, Emma hurried towards the sound of her brother's voice, praying that he hadn't stumbled upon something dangerous. What she found sent a chill down her. Chapter 2. The Discovery. In the heart of Whispering Pines, hidden beneath a thick layer of dust and debris, lay the entrance to an underground tunnel. Its yawning mouth beckoned to them like a siren's call, promising untold secrets and mysteries waiting to be unraveled. Alex stood at the edge of the tunnel, his eyes wide with excitement as he peered into the darkness below. "I think we found what we were looking for, Em," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma's heart sank as she realized the gravity of their discovery. She knew that venturing into the depths below was a risk they couldn't afford to take, but she also knew that Alex wouldn't take no for an answer. "We shouldn't go in there, Alex. It's not safe," she warned, her voice tinged with concern. But Alex was already stepping forward, his curiosity overriding any sense of caution. "We have to see what's down there, Em. Who knows what secrets this tunnel holds?" With a resigned sigh, Emma followed her brother into the darkness, her footsteps echoing in the silence. She couldn't shake the feeling of foreboding that settled over her like a heavy blanket, warning her of the dangers that lay ahead. As they ventured deeper into the tunnel, the darkness seemed to swallow them whole, enveloping them in its cold embrace. Emma's heart pounded in her chest as she strained to see through the inky blackness, her senses on high alert. Suddenly, a faint glimmer of light appeared in the distance, beckoning to them like a beacon in the night. With a sense of trepidation, they pressed forward, drawn inexorably towards the source of the light. What they found at the end of the tunnel sent shivers down their spines. Chapter 3. The Revelation. As Emma and Alex emerged from the tunnel, they found themselves standing in the heart of an underground chamber, its walls lined with strange symbols and glyphs. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and decay, sending a shiver down Emma's spine. "What is this place?" Alex whispered, his voice barely above a breath. Emma shook her head, her mind racing as she tried to make sense of their surroundings. "I don't know, but we need to be careful. There's something not right about this place." As they explored the chamber, they discovered ancient artifacts and relics scattered throughout the room, their surfaces worn smooth with age. Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of unease as she studied the strange symbols etched into the stone walls, their meanings lost to time. Suddenly, a low rumbling sound echoed through the chamber, causing Emma to freeze in place. With a sinking feeling in the pit of her stomach, she realized that they were not alone. Before she could react, a figure emerged from the shadows, its features obscured by the darkness. Emma's heart raced as she tried to make out the figure's face, but it remained shrouded in mystery. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice trembling with fear. The figure let out a low chuckle, sending a chill down Emma's spine. "I am the guardian of this place, keeper of its secrets," it replied, its voice echoing in the silence. Emma's blood ran cold as she realized the true nature of their discovery. They had stumbled upon something far more sinister than they could have ever imagined. Now they were trapped in its clutches. With a sinking feeling in her heart, Emma knew that their only hope lay in escaping the darkness that threatened to consume them. But as she turned to flee, she realized that the entrance to the tunnel had vanished, leaving them stranded in the depths below. As the darkness closed in around them, Emma clung to her brother's hand, knowing that they would need to rely on each other if they had any hope of surviving the horrors that lurked within Whispering Pines. For in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, where the shadows run deep and the echoes of the forgotten linger, only the brave dare to tread. And with those words ringing in their ears, the Peterson family plunged into the depths below, ready to confront the darkness that lurked within their own home. For in the darkest of nights, even the faintest glimmer of hope can shine like a beacon, guiding the lost souls back to the light.